like, I'm just going to shout at you for the next 2 or 3 minutes. And then, because it got noisy last week, as some of you will remember, we'll use the PA as necessary, okay, but not any more than is necessary. Simply to try and balance up the sound and save these two good people behind me shouting. Right, first off, hands up people who were ever here when it was a folk club upstairs. I'd like to introduce you to Steve. Oh, me, I was here. Right. Anyone go to the Black Horse when that was in existence and tell them? I know you did. Right, 3 people, we're getting up there. How many of you were here? Have we done this already? Last week?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Glad to see you again back. Thank you very much. This is like being a teacher. How many of you haven't brought your homework? Right, very quick history. Lots of years ago, 40 odd, I can't remember exactly, but you'll find dates on lots of the posters that are exhibited around the place. And weirdly, you will find Martyn in particular's dates on here, yes, on the 31st of September in August rather.
It was 50 years ago.
84.
And
One in the middle, 74, and that one.
74, August, end of August 31st.
Right, there we are. My prompt. Right, we used to have a folk club upstairs. We were there because we got basically chucked out of the Black Horse for political reasons that I won't bother you with now, to do with management and things. And we moved here, moved to various places. The York Hotel in Bexhill, which was not an ideal venue, and became non-ideal when, coming up to Christmas, the landlord decided he'd have a disco in the same room and papered it all with silver paper, like being a turkey. So we moved and found it here, or upstairs. We had a club room, which was kind of ideally situated. It was quiet. People could sit and listen, or stand at the back and listen. It wasn't happily linked totally to a bar. I hope we won't get too much noise from out there. And I want to keep it that way.
It's all right, they're with us.
This ran quite successfully for 2 separate periods of time. I forget exactly why. And we had lots of excellent guests, including which last week, Paul Downs we had here, and he was in various lineups that performed up there. You will see as you go around posters with all the sorts of people we had. The name jump at me. Oh, the talent tinker, that used to be in that. Julie Felix, Jack Hudson, sadly no longer with us, I think. Finn Barnett, Fury, the Etching Steam Band, all sorts of names. Go around, and if you know things about history of folk revival and folk music in general, have a look at these. Not right now, but during the break. We're going to have an hour of music from these 2 excellent people behind me. Lovely voice and lovely box playing. Will you please welcome Martyn Wyndham-Read and Irish Bishop.
Thanks very much. I think we'll stand up actually. Just checking to see if the sound was working. No, it's
very old. My heart.
It's a real great pleasure to be here. And when we were coming over, I was thinking about it. It was the first time I came here was the 31st of August 1974. And I remember my mother bringing me in a pram, and I only played a ukulele then, so, but it was and over the years since I lived in Australia for 7 years in the 1960s, came back here in 68, I think, round about then. That's 1968. And ever since I started singing here, back in England, I've kept a diary and I've noted every song that I've ever sung anywhere since 1969. And I have the set list here that we did back in 1974, which is what, 50 years ago. Some of the songs I can't remember. But, anyway,
don't
this
sing
is
along.
one that we're going to start with. This one. It's an Australian song, and it's one that we started off in 1984. So I should be able to remember it. The sweet scented wattle sheds perfume around, enticing the bird and the bee. And I'm lying full length on the fern-covered ground, in the shade of a currajong tree. And far overhead I can hear the sweet strain of the butcher bird singing her tune. For spring in her splendour has come once again to the banks of the reedy lagoon. My swag I have carried for many a mile, my boots are worn out at the toes, and my dress of the season is a far different style to my dress of last season, God knows. My cooking utensils, I'm sorry to say, consist of a knife, fork and spoon. But there's bread, beef and tea in a battered jack shay on the banks of the reedy lagoon. There was Jackie the breaker, and couldn't he ride, and Percy the hard-working boy, and Henry of late who's taken a bride, glad Benedict life to endure. And Big Jock the stockman, I once heard him say he could wrestle the famous Muldoon. But they're far, far away, and I'm lonely today on the banks of the reedy lagoon. Oh, where is the young girl whose green eyes shone? I often have kissed and caressed. She's sleeping tonight in a far distant home, with her head on another man's breast. She said she'd be true and my life she would share. It seems she's forgotten so soon, but it's hard to keep square when she doesn't care on the banks of the reedy lagoon. Thank you very much for Reedy Lagoon. This next song was originally a poem written by a bloke by the name of Charles Souter. And Charles Souter was a medical student who lived up in the Aberdeen area in Scotland. And in the 1868, round about then, he decided to head across to Australia and become a doctor over there, which he did. And he eventually ended up in New South Wales. I think it was New South Wales, could well have been South Australia. And he was, what the connection is with Ivanhoe is where I think he did his practice. But he wrote this poem, which is just called Irish Lords, which was the name of a sheep and cattle station near Ivanhoe, New South Wales. So it has eventually become a song, and a few years ago Iris and I recorded this, and we were over on tour in Australia, and we're doing a concert in a place called Echuca. And Echuca to me always sounds like a swear word, doesn't it? Echuca. And we noticed that Ivanhoe was just 400 miles north of Echuca. And we thought, well, we'll drive up to Ivanhoe and give them a copy of the CD with the Irish Lords sheep and cattle station on it. But then, looking at it, we realised it's not only 400 miles up there, but it's 400 miles back again. So I decided to post it to them instead. And I posted it to them, just Irish Lords sheep and cattle station near the town of Ivanhoe, New South Wales. And eventually, a couple of months later, got a very nice letter back from them, thanking us very much for the CD, and they'd spent many happy hours looking at it, and could I please send them a cassette? This is it. The barley grass was 2 feet high, the billabongs were full, the broggers danced a minuet, the world seemed made of wool. The nights were never wearisome, the days were never slow. When first I went to Irish Lords, on the road to Ivanhoe. The frost was on the barley grass as we passed the homestead rails. A darling jackass piped us in with his turns and trills and scales. And youth and health and happiness sat on the saddle bow, and Mary lived at Irish Lords, on the road to Ivanhoe. And everywhere was happiness, the fates were fair and kind. We drank the very wine of life, we never looked behind. And Mary, Mary everywhere was flitting to and fro, when first I went to Irish Lords, on the road to Ivanhoe. The window on a leafy bower, where the golden banks you grew, stared like a dead man's glassy eye, for the roof had fallen through. No flowers in a garden bed, a voice stilled long ago, when last I I went to Irish lords on the road to Ivanhoe. I think you fancy singing a chorus? Do you fancy singing? Or you don't want to commit yourselves until you've heard how it goes. But I could hear some of you singing in the last couple of songs. So the chorus, the song is an Australian song called The Springtime It Brings on the Shearing. And the chorus goes, with a ragged old swag on me shoulder, a billy quart pot in me hand, I tell you we'll astonish the new chums to see how we travel the land. That's the first line. I'll explain it a bit to you. With a ragged old swag. A swag was a roll of blankets that they carried all their worldly possessions in. Ragged old swag on my shoulder. A billy quart pot. They always carried a quart pot with water so that they could stop and make themselves a comforting cup of tea. Billy quart pot in my hand. A hand is the thing on the end of your wrist. I tell you, we'll astonish the new chums. New chums are people who are freshly arrived in Australia. New chums to see how we travel the land. That's the chorus. Ragged old swag on my shoulder, billy quart pot in my hand. I tell you, we'll astonish the new chums to see how we travel the land. And you don't have to sing all the explanation bits in it, just the chorus. Okay? Oh, the springtime it brings on the shearing, and it's then you will see them in droves to the west country stations all steering to find them a job off the coast with a ragged old swag on his shoulder and a billy quart pot in my hand. Oh, I tell you, we'll astonish the new chums to see how we travel the land. From the Billabong Murray Loddon to the far Tatiara and back, all the mountains and plains are well trodden by the men on the Wallaby track, with a ragged old swag on his shoulder and a billy quart pot in my hand. Oh, I tell you, we'll astonish the new chums to see how we travel the land. There are men who will stick during shearing and then shoulder their swags on their back. For the rest of the year they'll be steering on their well-beloved Wallaby track, with a ragged old swag on his shoulder and turns all at an end. Words, then you will see those flash shearers making Johnny cakes round on the bend, with a ragged old swag on my shoulder and a billy quad pot in my hand. Oh, I tell you, we'll astonish the new Johns to see how we travel the land. Well done, that was wonderful. Fantastic chorus singing. In fact, what are you doing tomorrow night? And I'm almost inclined to teach you the verses as well. This song goes back many, many, many years for me, back in the early 60s. And I learnt this off the lady singer in Melbourne, Glenn Tomasetti, and she was a wonderful singer and had a great repertoire of songs. And this one in particular, it's just a love song, just called Cockle Shells. When cockle shells turn silver bells and mussels grow on every tree, when blooms the rose 'mongst frost and snow, then will my false love prove true to me. Oh, waily, waily, our love is bonny, a little while when first it's new, but love grows on and waxes cold and fades away like morning dew. Oh, had I wished before I kissed that love had grown so ill to win, I'd have locked my heart in a box of gold and tied it up with a silver pin. Oh, waily, waily, our love is bonny, a little while with a silver pen. Thanks very much. You're probably all very much aware of the early days of Australia with the convict being transported out there, which was a very brutal system, incredibly bad. The minimum time that anyone was ever transported was for 7 years. If it wasn't 7 years, it was 14 years. If not 14, it was 21. And 21 was regarded really as a life sentence. But the thing is, for the 7 years, if you behaved yourself within the first 4 years of your 7-year sentence, you were reprieved after 4 years, and you were pardoned, and you were given a block of land, 40 acres, so you could set up a new life. So in places like Scotland, when the Highland clearances were going on, a lot of blokes were going and stealing a sheep because they knew they'd get transported for 7 years and behave themselves. They could start a new life, which is fair enough. But you had to be a bit careful, because if the judge was in a bad mood, you could get hanged. So you had to be a bit careful. And they were always trying to find ways to shorten their sentence and everything. And trying to reduce the time that they were as transports. And a crim is a shortened word for criminal, and Long Bay was one of the penal settlements in Sydney. And there was an old crim from Long Bay, studied verbs and grammar each day. He changed all the functions of verbs and conjunctions and shortened his sentence that way. Just thought I'd tell you that. But one of the most brutal of all the convict stations was a place called Port Arthur down in Tasmania, which Tasmania is the island south of Australia, known as Van Diemen's Land in the old days. And Port Arthur was a particularly brutal place. And once I was over in Tasmania, I hadn't been sentenced to Tasmania, but I was doing a tour there. And a friend of mine, Richard Morrison, was the governor of Port Arthur, the jail. And he said to me, come and have a visit and I'll take you around places that the general public don't see. So I duly took his invitation, went there, and we're looking around at some of these places, and he showed me this solitary confinement place. And he said people were put in there for misbehaving or whatever. And he said, if you like, I'll put you in there and you can feel what it was actually like for these blokes. And the opportunity, I couldn't say no, so I got into the thing and he shut the door. And it's so small that you can't lie down. You've got to stand and you've got to sort of lean, but you can't lie down. And some of these blokes are sent there for 3 days or so. And after about half an hour, I started to panic because I know he was a busy man. And I thought that something had happened and he'd gone and shut off and left me in there. And I started rattling on the door and the door opened, thankfully. And I said, wow, I said, that's half an hour's a bit long. He said, you were in there for 30 seconds. And you lose all track of time, everything. It was completely dark, totally silent, absolutely horrendous. How these blokes managed it, I've no idea. But this is a convict song called Martyn Bay. One Sunday morning as I was walking by Brisbane waters, I chanced to stray. I heard a convict his fate bewailing, as on the sunny river bank he lay. I am a native of Erin's Island, though banished now from my native shore. They tore me from my aged parents and from the damsel whom I adore. I've been a prisoner at Port Macquarie, at Norfolk Island and Emu Plains, at Castle Hill and at Kirsten Gabby, and all these settlements I've spent in chains. But of all the places of condemnation and penal stations of New South Wales, to Moreton Bay I have found no equal. Excessive tyranny prevails each day. For 3 long years I've been beastly treated, and round my legs heavy chains I wore. My back with flogging is lacerated, and oft times covered with my crimson gore. And many a man through downright starvation lies mouldering underneath the clay. And Captain Logan, he had us mangled all on the triangles of Moreton Bay. Like the Egyptians and ancient Hebrews, we were oppressed under Logan's yoke, till a native black, lying there in ambush, gave to this tyrant his fatal stroke. My fellow prisoners he exhilarated, that all such monsters their fate should find. And when from bondage we're liberated, my former suffering shall fade from mine. Okay, thanks very much. This next song was written by a good friend of ours, Mike O'Connor. Mike lives down in Cornwall, and he's written some great songs. We do quite a few of his songs, so we'll sing another one later on, probably, maybe. And this particular one, he just sent to me out of the blue. He'd recorded it on a CD and just sent it to me. And it was about my experiences of going out to Australia. I went out there in 1960, and I went out there primarily to work on a sheep and cattle station, a place called Emu Springs. And Emu Springs was in South Australia, and I went out there as what's known as a jackaroo. A jackaroo is someone who works on a station as sort of more or less like an apprentice. You serve time there, and after a few years you've learned how to manage sheep, manage cattle, and etc., etc., and then you become qualified to become a station manager. But sadly, the station was owned by a family in New South Wales, the Faulkner family, and Mr. Faulkner died, and the death duties were so much that they had to sell Emu Springs, and we were all made redundant. But it has fond memories for me, and a few years ago my wife Danny and I were over in Australia, and we drove from Melbourne up to Sydney and stopped at Tintinara, which was the little country town that was supported Emu Springs. Emu Springs was about 25-30 miles out along dirt road, and we went out to visit Emu Springs, and it hadn't changed at all. And I could explain some of the things that they didn't know what they were, because it was different people owned it, and had to explain. Anyway, but my fond memory is that it was whilst I was out on the station that I heard the old station hands. The station hands are like farm labourers, and the station hands were singing some of these old Australian songs, and I just fell in love with them. That's the songs. And I decided that I wanted to learn more about them, where they came from and what they're about. So this is the song that Mike O'Connor wrote. It's just called Away to Tintinara. Now away to Tintinara, and miles to Emu Springs, every year a little farther, to the song the drovers sing. It's 100 miles from Adelaide, the overlander rolls, and a dusty road to Sunrise, where open bushland calls, and the music on the wind is the creaking of the saddle, and the rhythm of the song are the hooves upon the ground, where the fences run forever to the dusty blue horizon, and like gems on distant velvet, stars echo to the sound. Call me back. And along the plains of Sugarloaf, and by the plains again, by the dusty road to Sunrise, where open bushland calls, and the music on the wind is the creaking of the saddle, and the rhythm of the song are the hooves upon the ground, where the fences run forever to the dusty blue horizon, and like gems on distant velvet, stars echo to the sound. Call me back. night, for you've room enough to breathe here, space to be your own, and to sing again the old songs, and watch the sun go down, and the music on the wind is the creaking of the saddle, and the rhythm of the song are the hooves upon the ground, where the fences run forever to the dusty blue horizon, and like gems on distant velvet, stars echo to the sound. Call me I forgot the second verse, made a mess of that, so excuse that, and I do apologise to Mike O'Connor. One of the jobs, to get so involved in that song that I start thinking about the time I spent there and all those sort of things, and I sometimes just get completely lost in it. And one of the jobs that we had to do was ride around the station to check that the fences were still intact. And it was a 30,000 acre property, so we'd get out on a horse and you could take your time to go round. Literally, you'd take some food, provisions with you and just go right round. And it could take days, a few days, if you wanted. And it was one of the memories, is just sleeping out in the outback there, just looking up at the fantastic stars and everything. Absolutely wonderful. But one of the jobs we had to do whilst we were doing this was to check on one of the old blokes who was situated in the further regions of the station, and he was there employed to keep the rabbit population down, which was like trying to keep a blanket down in the wind. And one of the rules on all the stations in those days was there was no alcohol allowed. If you were found with alcohol, you were given the sack. You just had to go. There's no excuse. And this old bloke, I can't remember his name, but he liked his drink, and as he wasn't allowed to get any alcohol, he used to make it up himself. And his was methylated spirits with melted down boot polish in it. And he'd stir this up, and he had a secret ingredient, and Iris always says that I should never tell you what, but I see some of you are actually writing the recipe down. But the little secret ingredient he had, should I tell you? Yeah, okay. The little, are you sure? This little secret ingredient, that I see the bar ladies listening to this, the secret ingredient was to put a little bit of toothpaste in it. In this mixture of methylated spirits and melted down boot polish, little pinch of toothpaste. He said it made all the difference. But I personally haven't tried it, but if you like to try it. And he came sloping through the forest. He came sloping through the forest. Oh, what's that? He came sloping through the forest. He was neither young nor was he old, but somewhere in between. In his, I've forgotten this poem. He came sloping through the forest in the blazing summer sun. In one hand was a bottle, in the other was a gun. His beard was wild and wiry, and his hair was shaggy too. And his old straw hat was full of holes where tufts of hair poked through. I stood and rolled a smoke as he came with steady stride, and I scrutinised his features as he halted by my side. He was neither young nor was he old, but somewhere in between, and his heavy brow seemed to hide wild eyes of greyish green. He handed me the bottle. "You'll take a drink," he said, and I heard him cock the rifle, which he pointed at me head. "Now you take a decent swallow, and you can be the first to try me brand new vintage and me cure for the thirst. Now the rifle didn't waver, which was pointed straight at me, and a rifle barrel up that close ain't that good to see. So I raised the bottle to me lips with a very shaky paw, and an urgent and a silent prayer to heaven then I crawled. I swallowed twice, and God above, that bruit came from hell, and I felt me head exploding as it choked me dying yell. As I fell upon the dusty ground, I lay there deep in pain, and I swore that he could shoot me, but I'd never drink again. As the shock and pain receded, I struggled to my feet. That was awful, bloody awful, I could hear myself repeat. Then this maniacal brewer said, with yous I do agree. Now you hand me back the bottle and you hold the gun on me. We're going to finish up this bit with this particular song, which is a local song. Many, not so long ago, when I was a young lad, 5 years old, my mother used to bring my sister and I down to Fairlight, and we used to stay in a house. I can't remember where the house was, but it was right on the cliffs. It was right, you could look out and see the sea. And I always remember my sister telling me that as a lad I was rolling around on the grass, unbeknown where I was going, and I was heading towards this cliff. And my sister just managed to stop me going over the edge. So anyway, I thank my sister for that, but a lot of people curse her for that. Anyway, so this is the song, and I believe it's that cliff is where this song actually comes from, the Constant Lovers. Is there a Constant Lovers league somewhere here?
Yeah. Lover's Seat. Lover's Seat.
Yes. So this is where, and do join in on this, the verses as well. As I was a-walking down by the seashore, where the wind did whistle and the waves they did roar, there I heard a fair maid make a terrible sound, like the wind and the waves that did echo around, crying, oh, my love is gone. He's the youth I adore. He's gone and I never shall see him no more. She'd a voice like a nightingale, skin like a dove, and the song that she sang, it was all about love. When I asked her to marry me please, but the answer she gave, my love's drowned in the seas, crying, oh, my love is gone. He's the youth I adore. He's gone and I never shall see him no more. I said I had gold and I'd silver silver beside, on a coach and 6 horses, with me she could ride. She said, I am not married, nor yet prove a wife. I'll be constant and true all the days I have life. Crying, oh, my love is gone. He's the youth I adore. He's gone and I never shall see him no more. Then she flung her arms wide and she took a great leap from the cliffs that were high to the billows so deep, crying the rocks of the ocean shall be my deathbed, and the fish in the seas shall swim over my head, crying, oh, my love is gone. He's the youth I adore. He's gone and I never shall see him no more. And now every night at 6 bells they appear, when the moon it is shining and the stars they are clear. These two constant lovers in each other's arms, rolling over and over in each other's charms, crying, oh, my love is gone. He's the youth I adore. He's gone and I never shall see him no more. Thank you.
A lovely voice.
Yeah.
And as someone brought up in Scotland, listening to Jimmy Shan, if that means anything to you. Beautiful, delicate accompaniment. Absolutely. Great. Right, thank you very much to them. They will be back in
20 minutes?
20 minutes.
25 minutes?
Yep. Just a second or two before you all leap to the bar. This event, these events, last week and this, are put on by the Fairlight History Group. And Steve will tell you a very quick little bit about that. And then, Steve.